In 2010, Alicia started teaching 6th grade English at a public school in Columbus, Ohio. Her starting salary was $42,000 per year. Take-home pay after taxes and benefits, approximately $2,950 per month. She had $1,200 in savings, $18,000 in student loans, and no financial plan beyond getting through the first year without going broke. Nothing about her situation was exceptional. No family money. No side business. No high-earning spouse. By 2024, at 37 years old, Alicia had a $500,000 investment portfolio and a net worth just over $600,000 including her home equity. This is how she did it: the specific accounts, the specific decisions, the specific numbers, and the specific sacrifices. The single most important financial decision Alicia made happened in her first week of work during benefits enrollment. She elected to contribute the maximum allowed to her 403b, the teacher's equivalent of a 401k, from day one. In 2010, the 403b contribution limit was $16,500. On a $42,000 salary, contributing $16,500 felt aggressive. Her HR administrator told her most new teachers contribute 3 to 5%. Alicia did the math differently. She calculated that on her $42,000 salary, a $16,500 pre-tax 403b contribution reduced her taxable income to $25,500. Combined with the standard deduction, her federal tax liability became very small. The take-home pay reduction from maxing the 403b was not $16,500, it was approximately $11,000 after the tax savings. About $917 per month less in her checking account. Her school district offered a 50% match up to 6% of salary, $1,260 per year in free money. She captured every dollar of it. The 403b invested automatically into a target date fund. She chose the 2050 fund, and then she did not think about it again. Automation meant the decision was made once and then executed for years without requiring willpower or attention. In year 2, Alicia opened a Roth IRA at Fidelity. The contribution limit in 2011 was $5,000. She worked through the summer to earn $3,200 in tutoring income and contributed $3,200 to the Roth IRA in September. By year 3, she had refined her budget enough to contribute the full $5,000 to the Roth IRA annually from her regular teaching income, on top of the maxed 403b. She chose a simple 3-fund portfolio: Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, Fidelity International Index Fund, and Fidelity U.S. Bond Index Fund, allocated 70% total market, 20% international, 10% bonds. Her total annual retirement contributions in years 3 through 5, approximately $21,000 to $22,000 per year on a salary that grew from $44,000 to $48,000 as she accumulated years of experience and completed her master's degree requirement. The combination of 403b and Roth IRA contributions meant roughly half of her gross income went directly to retirement savings. This is an extraordinary savings rate, but it was made possible specifically by the cost-control decisions she made in housing and transportation. Housing is the single largest expense for most Americans, and it was where Alicia made her most significant financial sacrifice, and her most impactful financial decision. From 2010 through 2014, her first 4 years teaching, Alicia lived with roommates. She rented a room in a shared 3-bedroom apartment for $450 per month including utilities. In a city like Columbus, this was achievable. In a high cost-of-living city, the numbers would be different, but the principle holds. She did not love having roommates. By year 2 it was genuinely uncomfortable. She was 27 years old and wanted her own space. But the math was clear. Her housing cost was $450 per month versus the $850 to $1,100 she would spend for a one-bedroom apartment alone. The $400 to $650 monthly difference went directly into savings and investments. In 2014, she bought a two-bedroom townhome for $138,000. She put 20% down, $27,600, that she had been accumulating in a high-yield savings account while living cheap. Her mortgage payment was $680 per month. She rented the second bedroom to a colleague for $550 per month, effectively cutting her housing cost to $130 per month net for 3 years until she was ready to use the room herself. The housing strategy alone, roommates for 4 years, then house hacking for 3 years, allowed her to invest hundreds of dollars per month that most people in her income bracket were spending on rent. Transportation is the second largest expense category for most Americans. Alicia bought a 2007 Honda Civic in 2010 for $8,400 cash, money she had saved before taking the teaching job. She drove it for 11 years. During those 11 years, she spent on maintenance, tires, oil changes, a brake job, one alternator replacement. Total maintenance cost over 11 years, approximately $4,800. Average annual cost of ownership on the vehicle itself, $760 per year. Insurance on an older paid-off vehicle, $900 per year. Total annual transportation cost, roughly $1,660. The average American car payment in 2015 was $480 per month. In 2020 it was $560 per month. In 2024 it is over $730 per month. Alicia never had a payment. Over those 14 years, not having a car payment freed up $480 to $730 per month compared to the average American, money that went directly into investments. In 2021, she paid $14,000 cash for a 2018 Civic with 41,000 miles. No payment again. The car decision is not glamorous. But over 14 years, choosing reliable used vehicles paid for in cash instead of financing new vehicles saved her an estimated $65,000 in payments and interest, capital that compounded inside her portfolio. Let us walk through the actual portfolio growth numbers year by year. End of year 1, 2010. $18,400 in the 403(b) including employer match and 11 months of contributions. End of year 2, 2011, $39,600 total, 403(b) plus first Roth contribution. Market was roughly flat that year, but contributions kept flowing in. End of year 5, 2015, $142,000. This was an important psychological milestone. Her portfolio had crossed 6 figures and was clearly on a trajectory. End of year 8, 2018, $287,000. The portfolio was growing by $25,000 to $35,000 per year from contributions alone, plus market appreciation. Compounding was beginning to contribute meaningfully. End of year 11, 2021, $412,000. The pandemic-era market surge accelerated growth. Her 403(b) and Roth were both heavily in equities through the downturn and recovered fully. End of year 14, 2024, $503,000. Salary had grown to $58,000 through experience steps, a master's degree stipend, and a few district-wide raises. Contribution limits had also increased. By 2024 the 403(b) limit was $23,000 and the IRA limit was $7,000. The portfolio assumed a 9% average annual return, close to the long-run S&P 500 average. Some years were better. 2022 was significantly worse. Over 14 years, the average worked out. Let us be honest about what this required. What she sacrificed, living alone for 4 years. New cars. Eating out frequently, she cooked at home roughly 5 nights per week throughout the 14 years. Expensive vacations in the early years, she traveled locally and cheaply until year 7 when the portfolio had enough momentum to feel secure. What she did not sacrifice: happiness. She spent deliberately on things that genuinely mattered to her: a running hobby with race entry fees, books, a dog, and regular visits to family. She had a full social life. She bought clothes, just at second-hand stores and end-of-season sales. She went on 1 or 2 trips per year, just not to Europe in business class. The framing she used was not deprivation, it was optimization. She chose big wins on big expenses, housing and transportation, and spent freely on low-cost pleasures. This is the only sustainable version of high savings rate living. Cutting $4 lattes while driving a $700 per month car is not a strategy. Getting the housing and car decisions right gives you financial margin that makes everything else manageable. Here is Alicia's exact fund allocation at age 37 with $503,000. 403b, $312,000, invested in Vanguard Institutional 500 Index Trust, essentially the S&P 500 at an expense ratio of 0.01%. Her district offered this as a low-cost option after she specifically requested information about available index funds. Roth IRA at Fidelity, $143,000, split between Fidelity Total Market Index, FZROX, at 70% and Fidelity International Index, FSILX, at 30%. Zero expense ratio on both. Taxable brokerage account at Vanguard, $48,000, invested in VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. She opened this in year 8 after maxing both tax-advantaged accounts. Total equity allocation, 90% stocks, 10% bonds. She plans to shift toward 80-20 at 45 and 70/30 at 55. The portfolio is simple by design. 3 fund managers, 0 individual stocks, no sector bets, no timing. The complexity of her situation was in the behavioral execution, the housing decisions, the car decisions, the savings rate discipline, not in the investment strategy itself. The investment strategy is boring on purpose. Boring works. Word count, 1, 300 duration, 10-minute end card. Next video, the net worth milestones that predict financial freedom, by age.